Ready? Hello and welcome to another episode of Media Snack Meets. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Gerhard Louw, International Media Management and Transformation at Deutsche Telekom. Hello Gerhard, and welcome to IDComms and welcome to Media Snack.
Thank you very much.
I want to start with the transformational bit of your job title, because you were the architect and kind of leader of a significant transformational change, certainly around the media operating model that you've had at Deutsche Telekom. Could you just give us a little bit of background around that, please?
Yeah, sure. David, I think the background behind it is really we wanted to change the way we work. And at the time, the change wasn't clear, but of course that was our role and the first step in this transformation process to define what is the change that we need. Why do we need change? And I think if you look at our industry, and you know our industry very well, there's a lot of things that we need to change. There's a lot of things that we as advertisers can drive. And that was also the idea behind the model, was to change the way we as an advertiser work and change from within.
Yeah. And so at a time when many advertisers are looking to consolidate their marketing communications partners within one holding group, you actually decided to do the complete opposite. And so you looked at the media management process and created disciplines and then went to market. And you called it Tetris.
Yeah, I think what we wanted to do and what we did do was really change the way that we engage externally and internally in terms of partners. And a lot of, you're right, a lot of advertisers think the one agency model works the best for them. And I'm definitely not the person here to say that that model isn't right for many advertisers, but for us it wasn't the right model anymore. So we consciously decided to change to a new model. We call it Project Tetris because of the different lots. As we call it, different components. You can also think of it as a media process or as a scope of work that you would normally give to an agency. And what we did was we said, let's break it up. Let's break it up into different components. Let's break it up into more specialist tasks, specialist areas, and let's look for the best of breed supplier or agency or partner in that area. So the essence of it is really saying, let's have more control, let's have more transparency, let's have more flexibility. These are words that one uses a lot and one hears a lot, but how do you actually make that happen? That was the thinking behind our model. And the model really works through the collaboration between the different partners. That's the one thing. And it works by having more in-house experts, having more in-house control, having more in-house expertise, having people inside the company that can also manage those partners.
When you talk about in-housing, because there's a sense of ambiguity around in-housing in the marketplace, how difficult was it to find the right talent and capabilities to bring those specialisms in-house?
So in-house, I think, in our definition, is not about the hands on keyboards. It's not actually setting up the campaigns and executing the planning or the buying. That's not how we understand in-house. We understand in-house by more control, control of the partners doing the actual hands on keyboards work. So was it difficult to get people? I would say no. There's some great people out there. And let's be honest, mostly in the agency world, that's where they normally come from, people that have very deep expertise in how media works, whether it's on the strategy side, whether it's more on the analytics side, whether it's more on the digital programmatic side. So those people are available, and some of them, of course, are keen to also work on the client side. So I would say that's not the biggest challenge, is to have people on that level joining a client organization. I think what many advertisers are struggling with is when they are doing the work themselves. So when they all of a sudden have to build up a team of search experts, of programmatic experts that execute the deals on the DSP. This is a different kind of organization structure that one needs. And my hypothesis is that very few advertisers out there, very few, are really set up and have it in them, have it in their culture and in their internal organizations to be able to do that kind of insourcing, the hands-on keyboard, successfully over a long term. So I think that's In our industry, I think it's very hyped and talked about a lot, but I think it's not the right model for most advertisers.
So the new operating model, I mean, it's very progressive, and you've got multiple partners.
Yeah.
How do you...
And the internal component as well.
Of course, right? I mean, that's a critical element of it. But how do you ensure that everybody's pointing in the same direction?
Yeah. I think that's been a big challenge from the beginning. And I think what was good when we spent a lot of time at the beginning defining the model, this was one of the things we realized right at the beginning, right? How are these people, groups, agencies, suppliers going to work together, and work together also with our internal teams? So we call it collaboration by design, and this has really been a key component of the model, not just in terms of designing the model, but also executing the model in the pitches, but also in the operational phase, which we call phase 3, which is the phase that we're in now. Right. So collaboration by design means collaboration is not something that happens afterwards or as an afterthought, and it's really something that is core to the whole model. I'll give you one example, which is in the remuneration of the partners. We have a key component around performance, like many advertisers have now, and a key part of the performance within that is collaboration. So we have defined collaboration, we can measure remuneration, collaboration within the remuneration, and of course the partners are remunerated accordingly on that. So it's not something that we would like to have, that would be nice to have, but something that is part of the design and therefore part of the actual performance of the agency.
And I'm sure that the partners themselves have fully embraced that. I mean,
I would say yes. I would say yes. There was quite a lot of hesitancy at the beginning, uncertainty, because this is a new model, and all of a sudden you are not only expected but required to work with other agencies or other partners that you might see in another context as a competitor. But what I think we've done a lot of time and spent a lot of energy in defining the scopes very, very clearly. So the contracts are very clear. We've also moved from a commission-based model to an FTE-based model. So the remuneration is completely on a different basis. So it's not about trying to get the biggest part of the budget pie, right? It's not about saying, well, if we can do this for the client, we can get more money. So the partners are not incentivized on spending more. They are incentivized on doing a good job. And apart from collaboration, we also, of course, measure other aspects. One of them is also business KPIs. So the partners are also remunerated to some extent on our business performance. So whether it's revenue or other growth targets that we have. Absolutely. So we're all of us are in this together. We basically expect collaboration, we demand collaboration, and that's one of the models.
Brilliant. I mean, before I move on to something else, best of luck with the new operating model, and hopefully you'll come back and tell us maybe in some time later on how successful it's been.
So far, so good.
Very good. The next area that I want to talk to you about is the other hat that you have on. So you kind of lead the media function for Deutsche Telekom, but you also are an important stakeholder within the global media leader community on behalf of the WFA. Yeah. And kind of under your kind of stakeholdership, you have recently published with the WFA a charter, a media charter, which details 8 principles that you are looking for the media marketing community to embrace. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Sure. Deutsche Telekom is a very proud member of the WFA, and apart from myself, there are also many other colleagues involved in different aspects of the WFA. The Media Forum is a very interesting forum. It's really people that look after the regional, global tasks of media management for large advertisers. And the need for a media chart has been coming for a while, because I think if you go to any conference, if you open any publication, trade publication, there's so much talk about the issues that we face in our industry, and a lot of them are around digital media, because digital media is fairly new compared to other TV and other channels that we've had for many years, and are fairly established in terms of measurement, in terms of the way it is bought, in terms of the transparency around it. So I think digital has a long way to go, and the need, the community, the Media Forum and the Media Council felt very strongly that we needed to make more explicit what our expectations are as advertisers. As I mentioned, you go to the conferences and the buzzwords fall, people know what to talk about, they know what the issues are, but how do we solve them? And the idea of the chart is not just to say, here are the problems, but to also say we should be doing stuff as advertisers, and we expect the rest of the players, the rest of the stakeholders in the industry to do things, whether it's the big digital platforms, whether it's the technology companies, whether it's our agencies or our consultants. We all have a big role to play to solve these problems, and if we don't, then we will have a big problem going forward.
Absolutely. And you know, championed by not only some of the leading, most prominent brand and marketing leaders, but kind of championed, as you say, by the trade bodies, and this is really important. So what's the action plan if you're a media leader or a brand leader that doesn't participate in the WA forums? How can they act upon the principles that you've laid out in the charter?
I think one thing that we would recommend from the Global Media Council's perspective is to always include these kind of aspects in discussions with your agencies. Include them in pitches, include them in conferences that you go to, in discussions that you have with the stakeholders that you have. So the idea is for these principles to live, not just in the local associations, the national associations, but also amongst the advertisers themselves. What we had hoped for, actually, to be very honest, was also more engagement from the industry. So we had hoped for the other stakeholders to come to us or to engage with us and say, okay, well, we understand this is your request or your demand. This is the way we can help you fulfill that. And it hasn't really happened to that extent that we had hoped. So now the WFA is busy with another set of initiatives to drive those principles even further.
Well, it's a brilliant initiative and something that we at ID Comms completely support and echo. So we wish you the best of luck with that. And so finally, you know, you're a media leader in a dynamic business. You know, what is the thing that is keeping you awake at night, either from an area of concern or one from perhaps an area of optimism and inspiration, you know, within your line of work?
I mean, I really enjoy working in this industry. I think it's extremely dynamic. What I think is the most interesting for me, and it's maybe sort of a longer term, big picture thing, is how we are moving as big advertisers who invest a lot of money in media, how we are moving from an input-based model, from a model where we continuously optimize and try to get the best input cost, so pay the lowest input cost for the best quality of media, where we're moving that model to an output-based model, where we're talking about effectiveness, where we're talking about how well did our strategy work, how well did our media plan perform, and not in terms of media terms, but in terms of business terms. And this is something that I think is very, very necessary and very, very interesting. This is also something that changes the discussion within organizations. This is something that is interesting to CFOs, where they say, okay, I understand that you're buying media efficiently and good for you and good for us, but what does this bring and how can we move the needle on the business KPIs? So this is a big task. I have to breathe a little bit just thinking about it because it's such a big task, but I think we're quite on that journey already, some organizations more than others, but I would say the move from efficiency focus to effectiveness focus is really what I'm very, very excited about.
That's brilliant. So on the note of changing the narrative internally about media being a lever for business growth, Gerhard Louw, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, David.